Hi guys, Sailing Prepper here. As promised, today we will talk about JFK and his assassination. Alright, so I guess this should all start with the Bay of the Pigs. Okay, some of you might have heard about the Bay of the Pigs. Now, after Kennedy got into office, our Joint Chiefs of Staff talked Kennedy into helping these people go in and try to take over Cuba. Okay? They were failing miserably. Our Joint Chiefs of Staff actually wanted JFK to send in our troops. He said no. This kind of created a distrust. Okay? So, with this little bit of distrust, then you have the second thing that caused the distrust, which is called Operation Northwoods. Operation Northwoods was a CIA plan. They walked in to the Oval Office and asked John F. Kennedy, JFK, if they could plant bombs in Florida, killing thousands of Americans, to blame it on Cuba to start a war. The CIA wanted to do a false flag where they placed our own government bombs. This is something you can look up. It's literally called Operation Northwoods. They did that. He made it public, laughed him out of the office. Okay? When he did that, he said that he wanted to break up the CIA. I got some footnotes so I can remember stuff. That's why I keep looking down, so sorry about that. Then, after that, about 2 days before John F. Kennedy was assassinated, he stated three basic things. And this was made public, by the way. This is not hidden. One, he wanted to end the Vietnam War. Too many troops were being killed in the Vietnam War. He wanted some type of peace with Cuba. And we were also doing some things over in Indonesia, where we were actually helping a tyrannical government take over because we did not like communism in there, where the guy in Indonesia literally tortured, murdered, and killed thousands of innocent people. This went on into the 80s. We did nothing about it. We actually helped them. The CIA kept death lists for him. Horrendous acts. Okay? Oh, so when you guys think of other countries doing horrendous acts, why aren't we doing something? Well, we generally helped with a lot of these things. Just so you know. And the only time we actually make a fuss about it is when, well, it doesn't meet our agenda. Okay? After that, when he wanted to do this, he also wanted to end the Cold War with Russia. He wanted to make peace with Russia. He was actually planning a trip to Russia, which would have ended the Cold War. After JFK's assassination, okay, President Truman, who was president before him, who actually created the CIA, Truman created the CIA, posted an op-ed in the Washington Post. That's how public this was. It was an op-ed in the Washington Post that he started within a week after JFK was assassinated, about how the CIA is starting to take over the United States government. Truman posted this, mind you, within 1 week in the Washington Post. This was a newspaper. I don't even know if it still exists, but it used to in the old days. It was called the Washington Post. This is a president, former president, posting about how the CIA is taking over the government. This is a president who's worried about that because he thinks, or at least in my opinion, he thought the CIA killed JFK. Okay. Here's one last little bit for you on this. I believe his name is Alan Dallas. I might have the name wrong a little bit. But at the time, he was the head of the CIA. John F. Kennedy fired him. Because of all the stuff from before, is what he fired him for. You know, walking in and saying he wanted to kill millions of, or thousands of Americans to start a war. You know, that kind of thing. So, after John F. Kennedy was assassinated, he was put on the Warren Commission, and I think he was the head of the Warren Commission. He was the one who actually said how JFK was killed and all that. You think the United States CIA didn't kill the President of the United States? And that's just the circumstantial stuff. Ever since then, they've been in power. Every president you've had, or 90% of your presidents, maybe not Trump, but the rest, have all been under the CIA control to some extent, if not completely. Why do you think when they do all these send money to the American people and all these things for our COVID thing, why do you think very little of it actually goes to help us with COVID, and that's basically to get us to shut up? The rest of it goes to all these other aspects. Why do you think $21 trillion disappeared? Yeah. They don't care about you. The United States government, you really don't have an option. And with Biden in charge, it's just going to get worse. Biden's another story. Oh, to add to it, right after World War II, you know, we had a lot of people that were Nazis that got hired on by the CIA. This is also another fact. It's another thing. Okay, the CIA hired a lot of Nazis into the CIA government, or into our government, into the CIA. Yeah, really people you want working for your national intelligence? Yeah. So that's the basis of that. Oh, one other thing. Okay? You know, there's always been that theory about the bullet deal. Well, the president's wife herself said she was trying to hold the back of his head in. People made it seem like she was trying to grab for the guy walking behind the car to bring him up to help her. But even she said, no, I was trying to hold the back of his head in. The driver in front got shot. This is all fact. It was hidden a little, but over the years it came out. The back of his head was blown off. They denied that. So, later on, people found a large piece of his skull. Found out it was the back of his skull. 21 out of 22 nurses in the hospital in Dallas, before he got moved, said that it was a head wound consistent of the back of the head getting blown off. They wanted the story changed because it didn't fit the narrative. Because that little grassy knoll that everybody fights over, and that magic bullet thing, yeah, it's not true. Okay? Basic science will show you that. However, if you actually look into it, if it was an exit wound out of the head, that grassy knoll could have never shot that firearm because he already passed that. It had to have been in the back of the head that he got the entry wound. Right? Then how come 21 nurses and doctors later on admitted that, and they stopped them. They didn't admit it for a very long time out of fear of the CIA. A lot of these people who come out were afraid of the CIA. They'd be killed. If they killed the president, what are the odds of them happening to them? You know, that kind of thing. That was what a lot of them said. This isn't a random witness that got it wrong. This is 21 doctors and nurses out of 22 that said, yeah, that's an exit wound from a bullet. People who are familiar with that kind of thing. People who go to school for that kind of thing. Yeah. Now, how does that transfer to today? Look at your government. Look at it. Look at how it's run. Look at our endless wars. Look at the people you complain that you wanted Trump to build a wall for. Do you really think they're coming up here because they want to do bad things? Some of them, yeah. But a lot of those caravans, okay, first of all, anybody who comes into the country planning on doing bad things like selling drugs isn't coming through a caravan. They don't travel the whole way. They come up through a car. It's easier to get in. They might have people on caravans at the end place drugs on them. That's possible. But they're not going to walk all that way for that. The people that are actually walking the distance, they're coming up because we did some bad stuff down there. We assassinated a lot of people down there. We imprisoned a lot of people. And we changed their governments, just like we did in Indonesia. And for many years in Indonesia, it was a bad place to be. And we didn't care. And the same thing with a lot of countries down there. If they abide by us, they can rape, murder, and kill all they want. And we don't say a word. We really don't. Let's just check the time on this. Oh, only 12 minutes. Either way, that was faster than I thought for that, but I'll try to keep it going for a little longer. So, do you really think the U.S. government is good? Do you think your vote counts? The only reason I'll say it did with Trump's first election is because they underestimated the man. So they didn't try all the stuff because they assumed it was in the bank. That was their mistake. Why do you think they passed that new legislation about voting? So that they can fraudulate a lot easier. Did your vote count? No. Does anything you say or do matter? No. The two things you have that have the option of changing this around, they're attacking. One is the First Amendment. The second is the Second Amendment. Why is the right to bear arms so important? To fight against a tyrannical government. Why is the right to freedom of speech so important? So that you could speak your mind to those of others about bad things that are happening with a tyrannical government. They're controlling the narrative. They don't want you to speak your mind. That's why they're attacking freedom of speech first. And they're slightly moving into the gun narrative. They really want to get rid of freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is the most powerful one we have. But as George Carlin says, you don't really have rights, you have privileges. You want them to be rights, you have to fight for that. Because you really only have privileges. You want examples? Like George Carlin said, just ask the Japanese in World War II. Didn't have any rights. I'm not talking Japanese overseas. I'm talking Japanese Americans. They were Americans. If they had any descendants that were Japanese, in some cases just descendants that were Asian, it was right this way. You had no rights. They locked them up in internment camps. They called them internment camps. I guess it was nicer than saying a concentration camp, wasn't it? I'm not for ISIS locking up people. I'm not for ISIS at all. I think the whole damn thing should be abolished. ISIS is a new program that started after 9/11. It's not a good program. We had good programs beforehand. This is just another way to control people and control the narrative. And you can't say, oh, well, they're perfect, okay, because sometimes they actually deport Americans, born here Americans. I remember a story. There was an African-American girl. She was about 12 years old. A child, a 12-year-old child, that they deported down south. It was now still down south. She went to prison at some point. She stayed down there, whatever the situation is. Guess she has a kid down there now, and she's staying there. But the fact of the matter is she got deported. And it wasn't just to Mexico. They deported her like 3 countries away. She was born in America. Her mother was born in America. Her grandmother was born in America. She was African American, and she got deported. Because she was a runaway that wouldn't talk to him. But she was also 12. There is racists in America. I'll admit it. ISIS, or ICE, is one of them. ICE, there's really no difference. By the way, we are the largest supporter of terrorists here in America. That's for another subject, but yeah, that's actually a fact. Hillary Clinton supported them quite a bit. But, video 1, and this is on the JFK assassination. Because I spoke of the JFK assassination, this will probably be, well, it won't be demonetized because I don't have any monetized videos on YouTube. But it'll probably be censored. So, oh, by the way, if you want any better product of this, I suggest looking up Lee Camp, and he's got plenty of, ways to actually go through with it. You can find him on YouTube. Or Grim, what's his last name? You'll find him anyways. Just look up Lee Camp Government Secrets if you really want to find where I get most of my information from on this. But I did get it from other places too. And a lot of reliable sources. That's just one. Does cover the basics. This is all facts, guys. I've been talking about it for years before they even decided to do a YouTube video about it. It got a little demonetized and all that other stuff because of that. Why? Because the CIA owns Google and Google owns YouTube. Sailing Prepper. When the government lies, the truth becomes the traitor. Just like Jesse Ventura says. Sailing Prepper, signing out.